Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Lovecast. You are listening to episode 130, and this was entitled, What You Work For, You Will Never Have, Part 5. This is a 5-part series. So what you work for, you will never have, Part 5. And we're going to talk about love and relationships in this episode of the Lovecast. So welcome back, guys. If you're watching live on Facebook, I'm recording this live through the official page for this podcast, which is entitled The Lovecast with Jamal. So there is an actual page for that on Facebook. So you can look that up, The Lovecast with Jamal. And you can like that page and you can watch the live recordings of these podcasts that I do each week. And of course, if you're listening to this the normal way through your podcast apparatus, be it iTunes or Podbean or however you listen to your podcast audio wise, this will be coming out on Tuesday, the next day. But I'm recording this on Monday night live here and on the Facebook page for free, for the Lovecast with Jamal. And also it's being streamed live on my coaching page, which is called Free to Love Coaching. Anyway, if you're watching live via Facebook, welcome. If you're listening to this audio wise through the podcast apps that you listen to, welcome. It's so good to have you guys here. I enjoy having these conversations with you guys. I enjoy hearing from the listeners. Thank you. So glad you guys are enjoying this series. This is a 5-part series. Who knew there were so many things that we could work for that we will never have, right? So if you've been listening to this series, you know that I am encouraging us not to work for things. I'm encouraging us to work from things, right? Work from versus working for. Big, monumental difference. So I'm excited to talk about love and relationships because a lot of people, I don't know if you're like me, I was conditioned and to work for love, work to do things to be loved, to do things to be connected to other people relationally. I worked really hard at that. And I was always disappointed and disillusioned because, again, what you work for, you never have. But what you work from, you only get more of, which is fantastic. I wanted to say thank you to, if you listen to this podcast via iTunes, which is the predominant way, this is I think the main platform that this podcast is hosted on is iTunes, the iTunes podcast app. There's an opportunity that you have to rate and review this podcast, and somebody sent in a rating and reviewed it. I'm looking it up here real quick here, and I wanted to read it because I was so appreciative of that. So let me, so I had a review come in this last week, and I really don't know who it is. So they wanted to remain anonymous. They didn't put their name in there, but they gave the podcast 5 stars, which I'm so thankful for. That actually helps the podcast get visibility. So it got 5 stars, and this was the rating that came in. I really think Jamal has a lot of truth to tell for our time. I may not always see eye to eye with him, but I always find a nugget of truth to take away from it. Thanks for doing this work. So if you're listening to this podcast and you left that review, thank you. Thank you for that. That's encouraging to me. And not only that, it's okay if somebody doesn't like the podcast and wants to leave a 1-star review or negative review. That's okay too. That will not hurt me. And so you're welcome to do that as well. But I appreciate the reviews, any review that comes in. But I always like to know, it always feels good to know that, what we're talking about here in the podcast is serving you well and that you're getting a lot out of it. So I appreciate that. And so I'm super excited to continue this series. And it really helps me know that, the things I'm sharing are tracking with you. So if you have not yet rated and reviewed this podcast on iTunes, you can look for the Lovecast with Jamal on iTunes podcasts. And do me a favor, subscribe. If you hit the subscribe button, if you haven't already, and just give it a rating and a review, that would really help. That really helps the podcast. Only a small percentage of our listener base, because I can see how many people's listening, only a very small percentage of folks have rated and reviewed the podcast. So let me encourage you to do that. It really helps more than you may know. So, but thank you for that. To whoever left that encouraging 5-star review. I want to get into the meat of this topic tonight. Again, we're continuing our series, What You Work For, You Never Have. I want to talk about love and relationships, okay? And, most of us, well, I firmly believe my school of understanding, the way I approach things, is that all of us, all human beings, are being driven by core human needs. These are core drivers that are driving us in life. And one of the things that drives us in life is the need to feel loved and to feel love and to connect with others relationally. So love and connection, so it's a strong driver for us, okay? So most of us have been given paradigms, blueprints. Some of these are unconscious. A lot of folks don't feel like they deserve to be loved, or in and of themselves, there's nothing really spectacular about themselves. So they feel like they have to do something to be loved. They have to perform a certain way or produce a certain thing, or just be popular or be liked. That way people would want to be in a relationship with them, but very few people are taught, and my hope is that we would continue to grow in this. Very few people are taught to feel like they are just somebody who is worthy of love and somebody who is loved just from their status quo state of being. Very few people feel that way. So what happens is people feel like they have to work for it. They have to go after it from the outside. So they're looking to connect. They're looking to, fit in somewhere, belong to something. I always say people who want to belong to something are folks who don't feel like they belong already. Because if you feel like you belong to something already, why do you need to belong to anything? How can you belong if you already belong, right? Why do you need to feel loved if you already feel loved, right? So I always say this. I'm going to make really 3 points here tonight, okay? In this episode, in this podcast, I'm going to make 3 points, and I really want you to pay attention to these 3 points because they'll affect you deeply, and these are paradigm shifts for you to think about, internalize. Okay. And I always, and I say this in coaching when I'm working with folks, as you may know, if you're listening to this, that I'm a life coach and I love my work. Absolutely love it. It's a privilege and honor to work with people. It feels very significant, and I take it very seriously, and I don't take it lightly. And one of the things I tell people in my work, working with folks, is that nobody can make you feel anything, right? So some people, if you're in a relationship, like sometimes I'll ask, like, why do you like or love this person, or how is your relationship? And they'll say, well, my husband, my wife, they make me feel blah, blah, blah. And I understand what people mean when they say that person made me feel, but the truth is they didn't make you feel anything. Yeah. Nobody makes you feel anything. Nobody makes you feel loved. No one makes you feel rejected. I know. Isn't that crazy? You may be, so I can hear the pushbacks. It's not true. If I do something mean to you, Jamal, you're going to feel unloved or hurt or rejected. And I get that. But the answer is nobody can make you feel a way you don't already feel. Nobody can make you feel a way you don't already feel. This doesn't make sense. People can trigger you, but you can only trigger what's on the inside of you, right? I always tell people, if it's on the inside of you, somebody can bring it out. Someone can mirror it back to you. Somebody can mirror back to you a way you already feel, but nobody can make you feel a way you don't already feel, right? Right. So have you ever, and again, this works in both ways. So have you ever been around somebody that was just hard to love? Have you ever been in a relationship with somebody who was just really difficult to love, right? No matter what you did, they got offended somehow. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone like that, or you've been around people like that? No matter what you did, they got upset with you or offended because they took what you said the wrong way. They felt like you hurt their feelings, or you made them feel, not valued or rejected, and they just kind of took it personally. Have you ever been around somebody that way? Yeah. And then they would tell you what you did and how it hurt them. And I'm not always saying that that's not incorrect. Like what you did wasn't, maybe you did something that could have been more thoughtful, or maybe something you said or did was insensitive. I get that. That happens. But typically a person feels, they'll get upset because like you made me feel so rejected, or you made me feel hurt, or whatever. And I always tell people, like, nobody can make you feel that. Yeah. Somebody who's hard to love is because they don't really, no matter what you do, they feel unloved by you. No matter what you do, they feel unloved. That's because they don't feel loved internally. They don't feel loved in their state of being. So it's really difficult to trigger a person, to make, quote unquote, make a person feel loved if they don't feel loved. Actually, the opposite's true. Everything you do to try to make them feel loved will just eventually backfire on you. And they'll actually end up getting upset with you for something you did that you tried to do to make them feel loved. Does that make sense? Yeah. So nobody can make you feel a way you don't already feel. So to somebody who doesn't feel loved, even the best attempts at people who are in this person's life, even those folks can't make them feel loved, but they can make them feel very easily. They can make them feel hurt. They can make them feel rejected, not enough, all of those things, right? Again, now the person isn't, the person outside of them, the person they're in relationship with, isn't making them feel rejected or unloved. The person that they're relating to is triggering how they already feel. So I tell people, no one can make you feel anything. No one can make you feel unloved, but people can trigger you. People can trigger an energy inside of you. Now, if you don't feel loved, a person can bring that out of you. Oh yeah. A person can make you feel, they can trigger you to feel. Let me put it this way. Nobody can make you feel anything, but a person can trigger you to feel how you already feel. So ultimately, no one is responsible for how you feel. No one. Let me say that again. And I want to say this because it's an important point to make. No one can make you feel. No one is responsible for how you feel. Nobody is responsible for how you feel. You are responsible for how you feel. Now, people are responsible for how they behave and what their motivation is. I totally get that. And I would tell people, yeah, you're responsible for how you act. But if you're on the receiving end, you are responsible for how you feel, no one else, because no one can make you feel anything. No one can make you feel unloved. You may already feel unloved, and people can trigger that, right? People can trigger that, but no one can make you feel it. You already feel it. The same is true in the positive, though. No one can make you feel loved. And how often are we trained to look for love in other people, right? Yeah. How often are we trained to look for love in through relationships? So why do you date? Let's use it in a romantic sense. Why do you date or get married, right? For many people, it's because they want to feel loved. They want to feel cherished. They want to feel like wanted, right? But again, no one can make you feel loved, wanted, cherished. Nobody. Only you can feel that. Now, so then the question comes up, okay? Then why do we need relationships? What's the point of relationships, right? If no one can make us feel a way we already feel, what's the point of relationships? And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. That's a great question, okay? What is the point of relationships if no one can make you feel anything? Well, the point of relationships, and this is true on the positive end, this is also true on the negative end. The point of relationships is to mirror back to you your own state of being. It's to be a mirror. Relationships are mirrors. I always tell people, if you have dysfunctional relationships, it's because your consciousness is dysfunctional. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean, I'm not saying that excuses bad behavior or abusive behavior. If you're receiving abuse in an abusive relationship, yeah, I'm not blaming you for that. And I'm not also suggesting that you stay in that. No, you would need to have boundaries for your own protection so you can remove yourself from it. But what I am saying is that the mirror doesn't lie. When you look into a mirror, it is reflecting back the the person looking into the mirror. So in the same way, relationships are a mirror for us. We are drawn to people that will trigger us in a certain way, that will bring out the consciousness we're operating in. That's how it works. That's the point of it. Mirrors are important, and they're a gift, and they're necessary. See, how do you know what you look like? You wouldn't know what you look like without a mirror. You need a mirror to know what you look like. That's why you look into a mirror, right? So relationships, sometimes some things we cannot get clear about. Things can't come up for us to deal with and process unless we get into a relationship. Because a relationship, some things can only be worked out through a relationship. It's just the way it works. And it's a gift. So relationships will come into our lives to mirror back to us our own consciousness that we need to look at, to observe, to be aware of, to feel, and enjoy and heal, all of those things. What you feel, you heal. So if it's trauma, relationships will come into your life to mirror back to you areas where you have not yet healed, areas where you still need to heal. And that's what a relationship will do. It'll bring those things, those areas out of you up to be processed. So, and again, so that you can feel that energy, process it, get to the root of it, clear it, so you can move on and move into wholeness, move into health and wellness in your life. Yeah, that's what relationships do. So relationships will mirror back to you trauma, and those can be not pleasant and dysfunctional. But again, it's a mirror of your own, what's coming out. Again, nobody can make you feel a way you don't already feel. So sometimes it takes a relationship to bring out feelings of insecurity, to bring out feelings of not enough, bring out feelings of not being loved, right? I know you didn't get into the relationship because you want to feel unloved. No, of course not. You got into the relationship because you probably wanted to feel loved, right? Yeah, you got into the relationship because you wanted to feel loved. But if you don't feel loved already and you're looking for it in that other person, what's going to happen eventually in that relationship is that person is going to trigger your state, which is unloved. It's a feeling of being unloved. That person is outside of you is going to trigger that, so you can deal with it. So you can get face to face with it, and you can, and again, our temptation is to want to blame the person. Well, the reason I feel unloved is because I'm in the wrong relationship, right? How many people do that, right? I'm in the wrong relationship. So what do? You cut off the relationship and you find a new one. And guess what? The stats don't lie. People who do that, they don't get to the roots of their issues. They just repeat the same patterns over and over and over and over, right? You gotta get clear and deal with the trauma so that the patterns stop repeating. Relational patterns stop repeating. So again, if you're looking for love, if you're working for love outside of you, you'll never have it. And so this point, no one can make you feel anything. All people can do is trigger how you already feel. So that's it. That's a point that's really, really important to make. Okay. So the point of relationships is to be a mirror, to show you the consciousness you've been operating in. That could be traumatic if it's trauma, and relationships tend to be dysfunctional. So if sometimes in my coaching work, a person will come to me and they'll have some relational dynamics, and it's normal. All relationships have issues and dynamics. It's fine. But my main goal is to go, how is this relationship dynamic a mirror that person needs to see about their own consciousness, things they need to heal from? 100% of the time. That's always what it is. It's true in my life, in my relationships, right? It's a mirror for me. But relationships are beautiful gifts. They become very healing when they start to mirror back to us our state of being. That is from our place of, from our whole and our highest and most loved self. Okay. So the more we move into the state of being loved, the more we move into the state of being accepted and being whole, that's when our relationships become really healthy and life-giving, is because they're mirroring back to us the state of what we're operating from, which is the state of being loved, of being safe, of being protected, of being at home, a state of being, free, a state of being, all of those internal states that we that we operate from in health, a relationship can mirror those states back to us as well. And that's when relationships become exciting and life-giving and fun and beautiful. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? I hope it makes sense for you. But that's the first point I want to make. No one can make you feel anything. They just can mirror. Relationships can only mirror back to you what you already are operating from. Okay. Second point I want to make, and this is kind of follows very naturally from the first point, is that no one actually has relationship problems. So in a relationship, love and relationships, if you're trying to work out your relationship problems out there in the relationship, it typically doesn't work. And I'm not saying that you don't need to work through things in a relationship. You don't need to have good communication, or you don't need to have, of course, those are all essential and important, but you don't actually have. So if someone's having a relational dynamic and they're just not functioning, they're not getting along, they're not flowing very well, it's actually not a problem in the relationship. That's where it's manifesting. That's where it's coming out. But I always say people don't have relationship problems. Nobody does. People have unresolved trauma from their childhood, from their past. I heard somebody say once, you don't have relationship problems. You have unprocessed or unhealed childhood problems that keep repeating themselves into adulthood. It's true, though. It's true. We don't have relationship problems. We have unprocessed trauma usually from our childhood, from our past, that we still need to work out and work through, and they manifest most acutely in our relationships. So if you're listening to this and you're having consistent frustrations and struggles and drama with your significant other, let me suggest that what is more than likely going on is unprocessed trauma from your past, from even just paradigms and things from your childhood that you need to heal from and get very clear about, that you haven't had the opportunity to do. Because again, you've heard the adage, that time heals. That is completely false. Time heals nothing. Time heals nothing. The only thing that heals is you. And what you heal, what you get present to. You heal what you get very clear about. You heal what you feel. You don't heal by just moving on with your life and not dealing with it. No, it heals nobody. And if that's how a lot of us have been conditioned to operate. And so what we do is we just move forward in life thinking, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Yeah, it was nothing. My conditioning, my upbringing, the things that I've been affected by. Yeah, it happens. So what? I accept it. Just move on. Yeah. Well, what happens is you get into relationships, and then those things come to the surface, and you got to deal with them. That's the point of relationships. So you can deal with you. The point of your relationship isn't that the other person's is an idiot. No, the point of your relationship, if you're in a relationship with an idiot, is that, first of all, they're mirroring back to you something that you need to see of yourself that needs deep healing in you. Because once you get that healing once you start to work through that healing in you, the relationship will either fall away because it doesn't resonate on the level you're resonating on. It's all about frequency and resonance. Like if you're in a relationship with somebody who's not on your frequency, then the relationship will not make it. It will dissipate. It will dissolve naturally, or the other person will elevate to your frequency. That's how it works. So really I always tell people, you don't have to fix the relationship. You just move inward into your being, and you allow that healing work to happen internally, and the relationship those issues will work itself out. One way or the other, it will work itself out. The relationship will end or it will elevate, but it won't stay the same. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So my second point is no one has relationship problems, okay? People have unprocessed trauma, unprocessed issues from their past that they haven't resolved. That's the problem. But there's no relationship problem. The relationship is just bringing it out. So it's a gift. It's a mirror. And number 3, my third point I want to make in this podcast, my third and final point for this episode, is that relationships are a mirror to be welcomed as an opportunity to go inward. That's kind of what I've been alluding to. Relationships are a mirror to be welcomed as an opportunity to go inward. Okay. So if you're in a relationship, and it's just, there's been some struggle, maybe it feels like an enmeshment, not really a relationship. And do you know the difference, by the way? Do you know the difference between an enmeshment and a relationship? It's an important distinction. Most people are in enmeshments. Very few people are actually in relationships, healthy relationships. Most people are in enmeshment. So what an enmeshment is a trauma bond, right? A lot of people are attracted. So sometimes when you get into a relationship, you feel this sense of being drawn to somebody, but usually what you're drawn to in that other person is your own pain, is your own drama or trauma that's unprocessed internally. And again, people aren't aware of this. They're not always conscious of this. But a lot of times what we're drawn to in the other is our own trauma or drama or unprocessed pain. And that feels like deep connection. And so a lot of people mistake that for love. What it is a trauma bond. And that trauma bond is very strong. It's a very strong connection. It could be very physical. It could bring up physical chemistry. It could bring up lots of things, but it's an enmeshment. And those things, and the reason, and how you know you're in enmeshment is because it's very chaotic. It's like a roller coaster. It's high highs and low lows. Yeah. And then you feel like you have to become what the other person wants you to be in order to function in the quote unquote relationship. That's an enmeshment. You have to become somebody you're not. You have to become somebody else in order to function in the dynamic, right? You have to restrain yourself, or you have to like lose your the things you desire in life. You have to lose who you are in order to function, because the other person won't accept you, right? That's an enmeshment. It's an enmeshment. It's not a relationship. See, a healthy relationship is a mirror of what is true about you, right? It's a mirror of what is true about you. So the question is, what is true about you? Well, initially, I could tell you a few things. Number one, you are extremely significant. I don't even need to know your story or know you personally to know that you're significant. If you're here on the earth, do you know how much purpose went into your existence? I'm firmly convinced that we are all desired. Just the apparatus, the things that had to happen to bring you here. I mean, your parents connecting how they did, when they did, all the things that happened in their life to get you to that point, to get them to that point, to bring you into existence. All the things that make you, all the things that have to happen in your body on a daily basis to keep you alive. It's so intentional. It reeks of intention to me. Significance. Yeah, you are here on purpose for a reason, and your existence is significant. Okay. And a relationship is here to reveal that, to mirror that back to you. You know how healing it is to be in a relationship with someone who just sees you as significant? Yeah, they mirror that back to you. It's a beautiful thing when you get to live life with somebody who sees you as significant. How would that feel if your significant other just looked at you and mirrored back to you your significance? Yeah. Well, I don't say that to say, hey, I need to find that. No, you need to feel it internally. You get to feel significant internally, and the byproduct is a relationship. In your significant relationship, they will begin to mirror that back to you. At some way, some shape or form, you will begin to see that mirrored back to you in your relationship. But it starts internally. If you're looking for it in your spouse, it's because you don't feel it internally. Don't look for it. Feel it. Connect to it. Apprehend it. Realize it. Again, that's a lot of the work that we do in coaching, is to help us access who we are, our true state. So what's true about you is that you are significant. Also, what's true about you is that you're loved, deeply loved. What's true about you is that you're safe, cared for, protected, provided for. That's true of you. Can you tap into that? Can you feel that deeply? Yeah. You belong, you're connected, you're loved. Can you feel that? Or are you looking for someone to make you feel that? Because again, whatever you work for, whatever you chase, you never have. Now, these are the true things. You're safe, you're free, you're significant, you're loved, you belong, you're connected. These are things that are true of you. And I'm telling you that relationships, once you and as you, it's not like a one-time thing, but as you grow and move into those states of being where you feel loved, you feel safe, you feel significant, you feel free. Oh, the relationships that come into your life will only mirror that back to you, and it will be a joy and a gift to enter into those rich, dynamic relationships. But you can never get it from the relationships. You can only get it from you, and the relationships mirror back what you feel internally. It's like it just magnifies your state. Does this make sense, guys? Does this make sense? If you're watching this online, if you're watching this live, video, or, through Facebook, or, if you're watching the video, just type in the comment section, hey, this makes sense, or I'm watching, I'm following. I can't actually see it right now, just because I'm recording this podcast and I don't have access to the comment section. But if you're there, type it in. It's always good to get that feedback. And if not, if you're not watching this live, if you're listening to this via podcast app, iTunes or whatever, shoot me an email. Go to jamaljavanji.com, which is my website. There's a little link there where you can connect with me. You can shoot me an email through that site. You can also sign up for my newsletter. So I'd love to have you as a sign up on my newsletter. If you just scroll to the bottom of the website, and you'll see a place where you can put your email address in there and click submit to get on my newsletter list. I'd love to have you there. Also, as I wrap up this episode, I wanted to tell you about a workshop that I'm doing. It's called Uprooting from the Poverty Mindset Workshop. I've done several this year, and it's been very rich. Each one has been rich, just a unique group of people and it's a group. And we work with smaller group of people, like, anywhere from 3 to 6 people in each group. So it's smaller, it's intimate, and we spend several weeks working through uprooting from the poverty mindset and literally reframing our relationship with money at a fundamental energetic level. And if you have struggled and had repeated struggles in your life when it comes to money and your relationship with money, and if it feels like it just holds you back from doing what you feel like you want to do or desire to do, or maybe you don't even know what you desire to do and you want to figure that out. Well, money can be reflective of your freedom and of your limitless potential, or it could be a reflection of your limited sense of your sense of limitation. And anyway, what we want to do is we want to reframe and heal our relationship with money so it can be a tool of expansion and freedom and not limitation. So if this sounds like that's something you may would like more information about, do go to my website, jamaljavanji.com. There is a link. There's actually a page on my website that's devoted to, this workshop. It's called Uprooting from the Poverty Mindset Workshop. You can find that link on my website, that page. Go to that page. There's a form. Just put your name and email address in there. There's a little video in there with some testimonials of people who've been through that workshop. Watch that video. Put your name and email in there. Click submit, and I'll get back with you with more information, and we can, decide if this is something that's a good fit for you. But I'd love to serve you with that workshop. Another thing that I would invite you to do is go to my, I actually have a free Facebook group devoted to uprooting from the poverty mindset. It's a group on Facebook. It's called Uprooting from the Poverty Mindset. Do a search for that on Facebook, and you can request to join that group. It's totally free. You have to answer like 3 questions. And I do like live presentations, and they're totally free once a week. It's not all, sometimes I'll do a few weeks and then I'll take a break and do a few weeks, but on a semi-regular basis, I do presentations in there weekly, live presentations, and I present really valuable content that can benefit you if you're looking to uproot from the poverty mindset this year. So yeah, that's an option for you too. I wanted to tell you about that. Anyway, guys, thank you. Hope this podcast is beneficial for you. Let me know, shoot me an email, comment, whatever, show me, or, not show me, but like just communicate to me how this has spoken to you, or how it resonates with you. If you have any questions or thoughts, definitely here to serve you. And that's why I create this podcast. So anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Until next time, take care. All right. Bye-bye.